One of my favorite books from last year was Skyward by Brandon Sanderson, and its sequel, Starsight, is coming out really soon. And recently I did a poll where all of you got to vote on who I drew next, and you all voted for Spensa. So that's who I've drawn and who I'm going to be talking about today. This is going to be entirely spoiler free, so if you haven't read Skyward, no worries, I'm not going to give anything away. When you're first introduced to Spensa, she's kind of bordering a little bit on annoying, and that's because her personality is very distinct, very in your face, a bit brash, and she definitely makes assumptions very quickly. She judges people quickly, she's very defensive, but her personality is a product of her upbringing. A better way to put it would be that her personality is a bit determined by the things that have happened to her. She's only 16, so of course the things that have occurred in her life are what has currently shaped her attitude. And the main premise of the story is that we are on this other planet, and this planet is constantly being attacked by aliens from the sky. And the way in which the society deals with this is they have a lot of fighter pilots. That's kind of their main defense against these aliens. And Spence's father famously abandoned his comrades in the middle of battle, and ever since then she has had to be branded the daughter of a coward. She's had to try and take on the awful assumptions people have made about her and her family based off of what happened with her father. Their society is rather small, and news of what her father did is pretty known among them, and so it's very difficult for her to shake it off. She constantly feels like everybody is judging her, everybody's looking at her, and with good reason, because a lot of her childhood she has been bullied, looked down on, and just called the daughter of a coward, and so people assume that she is going to be that way as well, and as a defense mechanism, she just makes her own assumptions of everyone else. I think it's very easy to sympathize for Spensa, but not necessarily to like her at this initial start of the story. But as the story progresses and she's really pushed to her limits and she's forced to interact and work with other people, sometimes people who are bullies to her and sometimes people who could not care less about her past or her father's past, she's forced to work alongside these people. And that's when we really start to see her character growth. Spensa actually has dreams of becoming a fighter pilot herself, despite the fact that her father is known for having left his companions in battle. It's still her dream to defend the society that has looked down on her and her family for her whole life. And because of what happened, she is finding that it is so much harder for her to go through school and to go through all this training, because even the people, her instructors, the people that are supposed to be educating her and the ones that are supposed to be looking out for her, often they're the ones that seem as though they're the most hesitant to let her pass. Because of this, very early we see that Spensa is extremely determined. She does not let what other people have to say or the obstacles they put in her way determine the kind of life that she is going to have. Even though she knows those obstacles are there and she knows it's going to be harder for her, she always perseveres anyway. That's not to say that Spensa never feels down about what's happening. We often see that she feels very put down and that she feels the fact that it seems as though the whole world is against her and her endeavors. We see that in her internally, but how she behaves externally is very different. She puts on this very tough exterior. She never really wants people to know that what they're doing is hurting her, and she kind of always has to overcompensate. She always has to put on this air of confidence, like she knows what she's doing, she's got everything under control, when in actuality, deep down, she's kind of wrestling with some pretty hurt feelings. Thankfully, she actually has a very good support system. Her mother and her grandmother are very supportive of her. They're very sweet and kind and caring, and her grandmother has her own little spark of spunk, so you kind of can see where Spensa got that from. Her grandmother has instilled in her all of these old stories of heroes from Earth and beyond, and so Spensa has these dreams of being like these people, and her grandmother is constantly making sure she understands that none of those people got where they were just by wanting it, that she has to work for it, and those people face their own fair share of obstacles. So Spensa has this wonderful support group, which I personally loved seeing in the book. Spensa also has a best friend in the story that is essentially her only friend, but it is a very good friend, and he's basically like a sibling to her. The two of them are very different in their personalities, but because of that, we actually get to sort of uncover more about Spensa as a means of a contrasting reflection with her friend. Where Spensa knows what she wants to the point of having a little bit of tunnel vision and almost a one-track mind, her best friend is somebody who's very good at a lot of things. They're incredibly intelligent, and they could basically do anything they wanted, but they just have no idea what they want to do. And so in a strange way, despite being somebody who has all of the skills, they are almost looking to Spensa for direction, or they're looking to others for what they should do because they're just so laid back, which is very different for Spensa. And what's kind of ironic and funny about this is Spensa has a hard time grasping this. She doesn't understand because she's had to face so many obstacles. She sees somebody who doesn't really seem to have any obstacles, and they're also extremely intelligent, likely more so than her, and she is flabbergasted at the fact that they don't want to be a fighter pilot. They have everything going for them, and they just don't have this same dream. I think even if we don't share that personality trait, a lot of us know somebody like that. We know somebody who has a certain passion or a certain drive towards something, and that is kind of all-consuming for them. I think most of us have experienced a person like that. And what I love is that her and her friend, it's not that one personality is better than the other. It's not that her friend is more open to different possible futures, therefore they're better, or that because Spensa is so determined toward one goal that makes her better. They're both their own individuals. And like I said, I think having this juxtaposition with her friend and with their personality does a great job of showing how she is as a person. We do have some growth that takes place as a result of this friendship, but we also see Spensa's personality change a little bit as she gets to know the other people that she eventually interacts with. Her goal is, of course, to become a fighter pilot, and to do that, you have to go to school for that, and that means you're going to be surrounded by other people with similar goals, but not necessarily similar backgrounds. So while Spensa doesn't have a lot, she's not necessarily from a family with a lot of money, she interacts with people that come from very prestigious families, individuals that are almost a part of the governing board, and you can imagine, given how Spensa is, how feisty she is, and how much she already feels like she's having to try harder when she ends up interacting with people that have the position already, that maybe it feels like they got into school easier or they get opportunities handed to them. She doesn't handle it so well initially, which I find to be a very realistic reaction. Perhaps if one is older, they might look at that differently, but as someone who's only 16, as she is, I definitely think that is a very realistic response from her. These interactions, of course, though, not only shape her relationships with these people, but those relationships expand and change as the story goes on. I don't want to say exactly to what extent because I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but it's a great story, really high stakes, such a good read, and I think if you're looking for a good science fiction young adult story that feels a little bit more toward the younger side of young adult, this is a great one. Spensa is a character that is flawed, but is continuing to grow all the time, and you can't help but root for her. You just want her dreams to come true. I do now want to give a shout out to one of the only artists I've seen that has depicted Spensa, and they have depicted Spensa so beautifully. Please check out this artist. She is amazing. She's done fan art for so many stories, and I actually really like that her fan art, it looks very reminiscent of the UK cover, which I thought was really cool. I have a more in-depth book review for Skyward, and I also have a music video essentially where I composed a piece of music for this story and then performed it for all of you. So if you're interested in that, I'll have it linked down below. It's actually what's been playing in the background this whole time. But anyway, thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this. If you have other characters you'd like to have me draw, let me know that in the comments down below. Have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you later. Bye.